Hi everyone, welcome to the Redesigning School Counseling video for first year and renewal RSC schools. My name is Sue Reynolds. I'm president of the American Student Achievement Institute. And this month we're going to be talking about the year-end tasks. This is the last webinar for the year, and we'll look at all the remaining things that need to be done before you will complete your school counseling program portfolio. Okay, so today's agenda is we'll do a very quick review of the RSC beliefs, process, and products that we've come up with so far, and then we'll talk about the year-end activities. So specifically, we're going to document your professionalism, the advocacy that you do for your school counseling program, and a description of the process that you've used to create the school counseling program throughout the past year. So quick review, just a reminder that school counseling programs, we believe, help students make sound choices in areas that impact academic success. So when people ask, how do school counselors help schools, this is the way they do it. School counselors help kids make those sound choices, and when kids make good choices, we know that academic success goes up. This is the process that you've used for the last several months, last year. And when we started the process, we started out with the achievement goals that were in your school improvement plan. So for some of you, that was to increase the percentage of passing I-STEP tests or an ECA assessment, or to increase the percentage of students who succeeded on an AP test, whatever those achievement goals were in your school improvement plan. And then you talked with your council about what are the choices that kids need to make in order for us to achieve those academic goals. Once you decided what the choices were, then you explored what was getting in the way of the choices. Why weren't kids making those choices? And then the last part that we've done this school year is to design these guidance and counseling activities that would help kids make those sound choices. So that's how we've designed the process. It started out with your academic achievement goals, and it ended up with your school counseling activities. So this is the process kind of in a nutshell. We've been working through each of these steps, and today we're landing on the last step, which is preparation. So we've already talked about the guidance lessons and the program calendar and the budget. So we really just have some very final things to do as we wrap up the year. So we have a lot of products now that are already in your school counseling portfolio. You have a vision statement, you have program goals, you have a resource expansion plan, you have priority goals, root causes, activities, lesson plans, an annual calendar, and a budget. So the products are already in there, and again, we're just doing some year-end kind of odds and ends, miscellaneous things that we still need to look at. Specifically, we're going to look at professionalism, we're going to look at advocacy, and we're going to look at process. So you can see there's 10 little activities to do. We're going to give you samples and templates to use to complete these, and I think it'll be a pretty quick month. Okay, so let's look at the online system, and we'll look at each of those submissions and then look at the rubric for the submissions. Okay, so I'm going to go to the online system. And I'm logged in as Demo School, and you can see I'm on the process page. So I'm just going to scroll down to this month's activities. So I'm looking for May, and here we go. So you can see that there's two sections for May. There's these miscellaneous odds and ends activities that we're going to do this month. And then we're going to do a couple things after your portfolio is all completed. There's a couple little steps we're going to do after that. So let's kind of just work through the miscellaneous list. You're participating in the webinar right now, and then you're watching the webcast that we're watching right now. So the first task is to upload your advisory council agendas. Notice that there's an uploader button here. And remember that when you upload things into our system, you can only upload one document. If you go to upload 2 documents, the second document is actually going to replace the first one. So with your advisory council agendas, you actually want to scan those into one PDF. So scan all of your agendas into one PDF and then upload that PDF, and that will allow us to review all of the agendas for all of your meetings. Then in the next step, in step 4, we're going to upload a job description. We've taken a stab at writing a job description based on the RSC school counseling program. So you have a sample to start with. If you already have a job description, you might want to open up our job description and kind of compare it, make any tweaks that you want to in your current job description, and then upload that to us using, again, the uploader button. If you are a renewal school, if you click the report, that will allow you to download the job description that you put in 3 years ago, and then you can just tweak that and then re-upload it. If you're a first-year school, you're going to be sending us something for the first time, and you'll click the enter icon, and then once it's uploaded, you'll be able to print the report icon to see it. Okay, step 5, you're going to upload individual counseling management agreements. This is a requirement of Gold Star in Indiana and also Ask a Ramp. So let's look at one of those. I'm going to click the Tools button and we'll download one, and then we'll open her up. And you can see it's a Word document. And you're seeing also, get these things out of the way. There we go. You're seeing also that this is a document that has come from ASCA. So what we did is we took ASCA's document and we've given you some tips in here about how an RSC school would complete the document. So one of these needs to be completed for each of your counselors. So the first thing that's going to go in the blank is the counselor's name and the year. And then some of the document asks for the programs, something about the program. So you can see that, you know, all the counselors in your school are probably going to have the same, well, will have the same mission statement, so you would all put that in there. The school counseling program goals for an RSC school, those would be your priority goals, and you'd put those goal statements in that section. Then, in terms of use of time, we're going back now to the individual counselor, and we're saying, ASK is asking what percentage of the counselor's time is going to be spent in direct services to students, in indirect services to students, and in program planning and school support. So in RSC terminology, the direct services would be a combination of guidance, counseling, and advocacy. The indirect services would be a portion of your management services, and the program planning and school support would also be a portion of your management services. So ASCA's given you some explanation of what this means, and then ASCA's also given you a recommendation of what percentage of time they recommend that counselors spend in direct and indirect services, and then also in program planning and school support. So, but do note these are recommended, so if your time percentages are different than that, that's fine, but that is ASCA's recommendation. I think most RSC schools usually end up in the 90% on this one, unless you're a school that has a lot of non-program activities. But again, those are just recommendations from ASCA. Okay. So for professional development, this then goes back to the counselor. What professional development do you plan to do? On the school counselor responsibilities, this again is for the individual counselor, the caseload, and then what part of the program is your responsibility. So maybe you're on a staff that is differentiated staffing, and the only thing that you do is individual and group counseling for social personal issues. If that's the case, you would describe that here. Or maybe you're responsible for all counseling and guidance for students whose names begin with A through L. So you would write that here. In some schools, the curriculum part is differentiated differently than the student assignments. So like, for example, when I was in the schools, one of my responsibilities was to develop all of the guidance curriculum for the academic guidance and for all students, regardless of whether they were assigned to me or not assigned to me. So all of our classroom activities and group guidance activities were on my shoulders for that. But then in terms of individual guidance and counseling services, I only provided that for students in part of the alphabet. So there's lots of different ways that your activities could be divided in your building, but you would just kind of describe what your responsibilities are here. And then other responsibilities would be what we call non-program tasks. So if you're responsible for book rental or graduation or the awards ceremony or whatever, you would write that into your other responsibilities. The advisory council will meet on the following dates. You'll have no more advisory council meetings for this year. Next year we're recommending two, one at the end of the first semester and one at the end of the second semester. You might go ahead and pick the dates for those advisory council meetings now and put that in there. And then the planning and results documentation. These are things that are built into the RSC process, so you'll be able to check them all off. Your annual calendar, your curriculum action plan, those would be all of your guidance activities. Your small group action plan, those would be your group counseling activities. Your closing the gap action plan would be all of the guidance activities or the counseling activities that are focused on a specific student group. So we know that you have at least one group counseling activity that is focused on closing a gap. And the way we know that is because when you entered that group counseling activity, you checked off that this was focused on your free and reduced lunch students, or there was a special focus in this activity on boys or whatever. And then the last one, your results report from last year's action plan. For a first year school, this would be something that was not present because we don't have follow-up data yet for you. But for a renewal school, your survey that you did last school year was the follow-up data that we used to see what the results were from your implementation. So for a renewal school, you'd be able to check that. Professional collaboration and responsibilities, you just check off who's doing these things, and then or that you are doing these things, and then who's coordinating it. Moving on, budget, materials, and supplies. This is in the RSC system. You would just copy down what's your annual budget, and these are the things that we're purchasing. On availability, office organization, this is just where you're writing in your office hours. And then any roles and responsibilities of other staff, like do you have a registrar, do you have an attendance clerk, is there a school counseling department assistant or a secretary, and then signatures of the counselor and the principal. So you can see some of this describes the program, some of it describes the individual counselors, and also we recognize that some of it is duplicating things that you've already put into the RSC system, like the budget materials is already in the system. But ASCA and Gold Star would both like this document to be completed for each of your counselors and signed by the principal as part of your advocacy work. So so it's just something that you need to complete. So okay, I'm going to go back to the online system, and that was step 5, the individual counseling management agreements. On step 6, the assurances statement, and let's take a look at that too. That's one that even if you're a renewal school, all schools will need to do this. So I'll open that one up. And these are things that we couldn't think of any way to document, so we're just asking you to assure us that these things are happening. So the first one is that the school counseling program meets all rules and regulations regarding the school counseling found within state code. So In Indiana, for example, one of the things that we need to be involved with is the Indiana graduation plan for grades 6 through 12. So you're just saying, yes, we are familiar with what's in the Indiana code, and you're signing off that you've done all those things. So it's the counseling director sign off, and then it's the principal sign off. Second one, all those practicing our school counselors are licensed as school counselors regardless of their title. So let's talk about that one for a minute. Sometimes there's some confusion in this area. There are a lot of schools that hire someone that they call a graduation coach or a homeschool advisor or some other title like that is not licensed as a school counselor, but is providing guidance for students, academic and career guidance for students. And really, since academic and career guidance is all about teaching, as long as that person has knowledge and has that background in what's a FAFSA, or how do we find extra help in our school, other people besides school counselors can do that. So that type of guidance activity does not have to be a school counselor. It might also be a teacher advisor or a peer mentor. It's all those people who are in a teaching role that work in coordination with the school counseling program. So if your graduation coach or your homeschool advisor or your teacher advisors or your peer mentors are in teaching mode only, that would be okay. However, if your graduation coach is doing personal social counseling with students, that would not be okay. Those folks that do that need to be licensed, we believe, as school counselors. And if that's the case, if you have graduation coaches that are also doing counseling in addition to the academic and career guidance, then you would not be able to sign off this assurance. So think carefully about that. If you have questions about it, feel free to give us a call and ask us. On the next assurance, we're saying that the school counseling program is coordinated by a licensed school counselor. We think that's really important. Even if some of your people delivering services are not licensed, we want to make sure that a licensed person is overseeing the services, because that's the person who's going to know, oh gosh, that homeschool advisor or that graduation coach is really stepping into the counseling role here. And that's a no-no. They don't have that background and that training and that supervised experience, practicum or whatever, as a counselor doing the mental health type of work with students, the counseling part with students. So we really think it's important that the program's coordinated by a licensed school counselor. So again, you'll need to think about that and then sign off if that's the case. Okay, number 4, the counselors adhere to the ASCA ethical standards. Pretty straightforward there. 5, the school counselors have a private office or space that promotes confidentiality. And then 6, that exhibits found in your portfolio accurately represent your program, that you haven't made up anything that you've put into the RSC system, that it's all actually accurate. So, okay, so that's the assurances page. And again, if you have questions about any of that, give us a call and we'll help you think it through. Okay, assurances statement, upload the program brochure. If you are a renewal school, you can download the brochure that you put in 3 years ago, edit it if you want to, and then upload it. If there's no changes, you can just leave it as is. If you're a first-year school, if you click this search button, that's going to do a Google search for school counseling program brochure. And there are hundreds of brochures that will pop up that you can kind of look through to get some ideas about how to create your brochure. If you already have a brochure, and I suspect that many of you do, that's fine. Just look and make sure that it aligns with your RSC school counseling program, and then upload it. On public relations, this could be anything that you're doing, evidence of anything that you're doing that promotes or advocates for your school counseling program. So it could be a newspaper article. It could be an agenda from a school board meeting that shows that you did a presentation about your counseling program to the school board. It could be a student newspaper article. It could be something in a parent newsletter. So anything that you're doing for public relations, to show that you're actively advocating for your program, you can upload here, and that would take care of that. And again, this should be something new for a renewal school to show that you're continuing to do public relations. Professional membership, this also needs to be new for renewal schools, and for first-year schools it will obviously be new. A lot of schools will upload a copy of their membership card from either ASCA or their State School Counselor Association, from NACAC or their State ACAC Association, just any association that has to do with student guidance or student counseling. One thing that's maybe readily available to most counselors that are members of ASCA is a copy of the School Counselor magazine publication, and you could also just make a copy of the cover of the ASCA Counselor magazine, and that will have the mailing address label on it that shows that you're a member of ASCA. So if you can't find your membership card, chances are you'll be able to find a magazine. You can just scan that and upload it. Okay, the next one is professional development. That needs to be current also, so renewal schools need to update that. There's lots of things that you could do. We know that you're participating in professional development because you're participating in RSC. So one thing you could do is just do a screenshot of your process page and upload that to us. If you went to a conference, you could do a copy of the agenda. Another thing you could do is use the template that we provide for you. This is just a checklist, and I kind of like this because it kind of shows you what everybody in your department's doing. So what we've done is we've listed most of the major state conferences and national conferences. We've given you space to put in other events. And then you'll just write in someone's name. Jane Doe went to the state SCA conference. Bob Smith went to the State Counseling Association conference. So it gives you kind of an idea of who's participating in professional development and what conferences you're attending and what you're not. It could also be things like taking a course or reading a book, so all different kinds of professional development. Okay, then let me, one other thing. Not everybody in your department has to do professional development. The thinking is that if one person does professional development, that they would come back and teach everybody what they had learned. Okay, let's go back to the process page. That was professional development. Let's go on to step 7, narrative questions. If you are a renewal school, these will all be completed from what you entered before. If you're a new school, some of these will be completed, and I'll show you how that works. I'm going to open this up. These are questions that ASCA wants you to enter to kind of explain a little bit about your program. And because ASCA wants it, then Indiana Gold Star, that is aligned with the ASCA Ramp Award, then also requires this for the Indiana Gold Star. So one of the things that I wanted to show you is wherever these things, well, let's just open the first one first. So counseling services, I'm going to click on this. And then you have the prompt, please describe the counseling services provided by your school counseling program. So you would just enter a very brief paragraph here or bulleted list. If you're doing a bulleted list, please make please use an asterisk for your bullet. That's important because our system doesn't recognize all kinds of other characters that your word programming may have. So I could do something like crisis counseling, just make a list. Crisis counseling, group counseling, consultation. So I'm just entering a bulleted list, or you could write this in as paragraph style. What I would suggest you is to make it brief. We're not looking for books written about your counseling program. We're just looking that the reviewer can do a quick read and see, okay, these are the counseling services that are provided. Save, and you can save and complete later, save and entry is complete, and then you can print report. So I'm just going to say save and entry is complete, and then I'm going to go back to the list. And you can see that because I hit entry is complete, there's a little check that appears here. That's just kind of a heads up for you that you don't need to go back and do that one because you've already completed it. Then I also want to show you what we've done with any of these questions that dealt with process. Like, let's go down to philosophy or vision. I'm going to click the enter edit, and I'm a first-year school, and when I go in here, I see that there's already language in here. So what we did is, for us, the vision is based on your philosophy. So we're using your vision to meet this requirement. And we know, oh, I forgot to put my phone on mute, 1 sec. Oh, somebody else picked it up. Okay, got the phone on mute. We know, because you were an RSC school, we think we know how you came up with your vision statement. So we created this text for you just to save you some time. If this does not match what you actually did, please take it out of here and write what you actually did or edit it. Don't feel like you have to use our language. If you don't like it, take it out, write something different, edit it. We're just trying to, on the process questions, we're just trying to save you some time by giving you something to start with. So why were the various components of the vision statement included? We took a stab at that. So don't be surprised as a first-year school if you open something and there's already words in there. We were just trying to help you out, and again, if you don't like what we put in or if it doesn't match what you actually did, just take that out or edit it. Okay, now there are several questions here. One thing that we suggest to you is to divvy these questions up. So if you have 4 people on your steering team, ask one person to do the first 5, ask the next person to do the second 5. Kind of divvy it up that way, I think would save you a lot of time as you're doing the entry on this step. Okay, so those are the narrative questions. Let me go back to miscellaneous. Okay, then that is actually almost the last task that you have to do. What we'd like you to do at this point is to monitor the submission status page. That's the page that is in a Google Doc where Debbie has been telling you this meets criteria, this needs revision. What you need to do at this point is to make sure that every one of the status statements in the status column says meets criteria. You've done all of the formal work at this point, and there's, I think, one more thing we need to do, but at this point, we want you to start monitoring that status page to make sure that everything says meets criteria. Okay, when that happens, so everything meets criteria, you're going to have all of your work finished, we've reviewed everything, everything says meets criteria, and we're just hunky-dory, we're ready to go. At that point, we'd like to suggest to you that you publish your portfolio online. And again, we've given you a note here. Please don't do that until every status says meets criteria, because we don't want you to publicize, we don't want you to post online for the public to see work that is not up to standard yet. So, okay, so when you're ready to publish your portfolio online, and again, this is optional, you don't have to do it, but I want to show you what this will do. I think it's pretty cool. If I click on the enter button, I get a note that says that if I decide to publish my portfolio, these are the things that the public are going to be able to see. So your public, your school board, your administrator, your parents, counselors across the country, anybody could go in and look to see who's on your advisory council, what's your vision, what are your program goals, your priority goals, your activities, and your calendar. That is the bulk of your school counseling program. If you want to publish the program, all you have to do is click publish, and now it's published. Now I can go and find a URL that I can give to my school board, my principal. I can put a link on my school's website to that URL, and everybody will be able to see my program. If you decide, oh, change your mind 2 seconds later, no, I changed my mind, I don't want to publish my portfolio, just click unpublish, and now it comes down, so it's no longer published. If you want to see what this would look like, you can view all of the schools that have published their portfolios, and this is relatively new, so not all of our schools have done this, but I'm just going to click on, let's go to Clinton Prairie, and this is what your published portfolio would look like, except if I'm not logged in. So when your public posts this, they will not get all these tabs on the left. They're just going to have links to go to your roster, your vision statement, your program goals, priority goals, program activities, and program calendar. So we think it's kind of a great idea to publish your portfolio. It is another thing you can do to advocate for your program. And then on either your school counseling page, on your school's website, or on your school's website, you can just link to this page. Just give people the URL that's up here at the top, and like right there. And then that's what they can use to link to this page or to open this page. So okay. So then, after you've published, or if you decide not to publish, the next step says present your school counseling program to your school board. This is a requirement for ASCA and Gold Star, and I'd like to suggest a couple of ways to do that. Probably the most popular way the schools do that is they ask to be on the agenda for a school board meeting, and they'll talk about being involved with RSC and seeking the Gold Star Award and the RAMP Award, and then they'll present the same things that were on that public portfolio. So they'll say, here are the people that were on our advisory council, and here's our vision, here's our goals, and here's our activities. Pretty much vision, goals, activities, I think would be nice things to share with your school board. So if you can get on the agenda for a school board meeting and go present your portfolio, I think that would be really cool. Be a great advocacy activity, and it actually up on the advocacy part that we looked at earlier, this could be your advocacy activity for your public relations up in step 8. When I think across the board, when we've talked to counselors after they've stood up in front of their school board and presented their program, the school boards have been just overwhelmingly impressed that you have a data-driven program, that you're holding yourselves accountable for students making better choices to raise student achievement. It helps your school board see how school counseling is linked to student achievement. So I just really think it's a great activity. If you can't get on a board meeting agenda, another thing you could do is to just simply send your school board a memo or email that has a link to that public portfolio. So you'd publish your portfolio online in step 13, and then for step 14 you'd send your school board an email to explain what you've been doing with RSC, and that you're seeking Gold Star and or the ASCA RAMP Award, and then you would give the school board the link that would take them to that portfolio page. Okay, then in reviewing the rubric items, let's go to that real quickly. Oh, I'm sorry, let me go back. On the school board, we need something that would document that you've presented to the school board. So either a copy of the email that you sent them, or a copy of an agenda with your name on it. Just some way you've documented to us that you've done that. And then the final thing, the rubric, reviewing the rubric items. Let's open that real quickly. Most of the rubric items this month are just saying that the thing is present. So the council agendas are present. In the job description, we're looking for The job description includes the qualifications, the primary functions, and the job responsibilities of the school counselor. And again, if you look at our sample for the job description, you'll see that our sample has all those things in it. Individual counselor management agreement is present for each counselor. Assurance statement has been signed by the counseling director and the principal. Program brochure is present. Public relations exhibit is present. Evidence that the school counselors are involved with her association is present. Professional development evidence is present. And then all narrative questions have been answered. So, and in clear and concise terms, we want to make sure that that the answers make sense. So, okay, so really, it's a lot of the rubric items this month are just is the thing present or not. And then finally, when you're finished with all that, you're going to submit your email to Debbie. You're going to send an email to Debbie letting her know that you're ready for her to review your May submissions. Okay, then again, after everything says meets criteria in your submission status page that you've been working on all year, after everything is ready to go, then the very final thing we'd like you to do is to send Debbie an email that says that your portfolio is fully complete and you're ready for us to let DOE know that there will be no more changes and that your portfolio is finished. So as soon as we get that, then we'll check that status page that you've been monitoring as well, and we'll make sure that everything says meets criteria. And if it does, then we'll publish your name on a list of RSC completers. So I'll open that up and we'll see what that looks like. So this is a page that is just going to list the schools from your cohort. You're the 2015 cohort because we started working with you in 2015. And first year schools, your schools' names will be here on the left and renewal schools will be here on the right. So, and then there's a little explanation up here. I'm going to go over this in a minute, but there's a little explanation up here on what will happen after your name appears here. So what we want you to do is to monitor this sheet and make sure that your school's name appears there. So after you let us know that you're all finished, everything's final, everything's complete, you're ready for DOE to know that you're complete, then monitor that page, make sure that your name shows up there. And then the final thing is that if you're seeking Indiana PGPs, professional growth points, send us that log before June 1st so that we can actually that will be June 15th, so that we can start the process to make sure that you're awarded those PGPs that you need to update your license. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to go back then and talk about what happens after your portfolio is complete. So, what happens next? Okay, so after you send Debbie an email that says my portfolio is complete, I'm done, I'm not finished, I'm not going to change anything more, Debbie will put your name on that list of schools that are RSC completers. Then on July 1st, we will send DOE verification that all the schools that are on the completer list have met all the requirements for the Indiana Gold Star School Counseling Award. So your deadline for being complete is June 15th. That gives us a couple of weeks to just kind of look through everything, make sure that everything is complete, and contact you if not. But I'm 99.9% confident that we won't have any surprises at that point. So on July 1st, we'll send DOE a list of all the schools that are on that public completer list. Then in mid-July, DOE will send your contact person, the person on your steering team that's been designated as the contact person, an email. And that email is going to tell you when and where the Gold Star Award will be presented. Typically, in Indiana, it's at the ISCA conference that's held in November. And then it will also tell you what steps you need to take to get the Ask a Ramp Award. There won't be any additional work. In past years, there have been 2 steps that you need to do to get the Ask a Ramp. One is to send ASCA your contact information, so it's just like a one-pager where you complete your contact information. And then the second one is to send ASCA a check. So Amanda Cullen at DOE will send you this email with very concrete instructions about what to do next. Then in the fall, ASCA will ask DOE for a list of ramp qualifiers, and again, Amanda Cullen at DOE will send ASCA the list of Indiana schools that have met all the ramp requirements. And then in November, you'll attend if everything works as it has in all the other years since 2004, you'll attend the ISCA conference and be presented with the Gold Star School Counseling Award. Typically, it's really kind of fun. The president of the Principals Association will come to present the award during the ISCA conference, which we really like because again, it's advocacy. It lets the Principals Association know what we're doing and helps them understand school counseling. Then, not this summer, but the summer after this summer, you will be awarded the Ask a Ramp Award if you decide to, pay the money and earn that award, receive that award. You'll be presented with that award at the ASCA conference, not this summer, but a year from this summer. And it's kind of a big deal. There's usually a big luncheon, and it's a very nice plaque, and I know a lot of schools will, it's a national award, and in most states there's only a couple of schools that get it. So for a lot of schools it's such a big deal that, their principal may travel with them to see them get this award, or, people's spouses go to see them get the award. It's really kind of a big deal. Okay, so that's what happens next in terms of knowing. So let me just summarize. So you're going to know that everything is okay, and we're recommending to Indiana DOE that we're telling them that you've met all the steps for Gold Star. You're going to know that that's happened when your name appears on this public list of RSC completers. So as long as your name is on this list, then everything else there after that you don't have to worry about. You'll just be notified in July, and then you'll get your award in November, and then the Ask Award a year from now. So, okay. So the thing for you to monitor is this list of RSC completers, and again, we gave you a link to that on the process page. Okay, that's what happens next, and then let's look forward a little bit in future years. So next school year, you'll just be making in-flight adjustments. You'll do we'll have one webinar that will be probably in February-ish. And then you'll do the survey so we can get follow-up data for your priority goals. And then you'll have one advisory council meeting in the summer, early summer, and you'll say to the advisory council, here's our updated data for our priority goals. Look, we've improved, and study for the course, or we haven't improved, we have not improved, and so we're going to make these tweaks in our process, in our program. So one annual meeting. Now, I mentioned earlier that we recommend 2 annual advisory council meetings. The other one would be after the first semester, and it's just kind of a get-together to share with the council, here's what we did first semester, here's what's coming up second semester, just to kind of keep your council on board. The second meeting, the spring or early summer one, where you look over the new student data, that's the meeting that's really important, so that we are following along in the progress of your implementation and its impact on students. Okay, so that's next year. The year after next, we do the same thing. One meeting that'll happen in the late spring, early summer. Then the year after that, you'll renew. Again, it's 5 webinars. Again, you'll do the survey. We do this survey every year. And then we'll update all parts of your portfolio, not just tweaking now, but really digging in and updating each part of the portfolio. And there will be 5 advisory council meetings that will help you do that. So that's what's happening in the future. But let me give you kind of one comment about this as well. ASCA has changed their timeline to a 5-year renewal process. We're talking with DOE about whether or not DOE wants to also make the renewal for Gold Star a 5-year process. We think that there would be a big benefit to that, in that schools would only have to go through the renewal process for Gold Star and RAMP. They could do that at the same time. So we'll let you know as soon as that's been decided if Indiana is going to go to a 5-year renewal instead of a 3-year renewal as well. Okay, so I think that's that. Yeah, and that's it. So I'm not seeing any questions, so I think we'll go ahead and close. Before we do, we just wanted, on behalf of Debbie and me, but also on behalf of your students and your parents, thank you for doing Redesigning School Counseling. You know, in doing RSC, you've created a data-driven program that is really focused on the most urgent needs of your kids in order to raise achievement. And, you know, I know it took you lots of hours to go through this process, to collect the data and to have the discussions with your advisory council. And I just think that that is so commendable on your part, that you saw the value in a data-driven program to the point where you were willing to go to this step. So I doubt if you're going to get a raise or corner office or anything because you went through this RSC process, other than Gold Star and the RAMP Award. But knowing how much work this is, we really, really admire the counselors that do this. So we just wanted to end this final webinar for this year with the comment that we like to share at the end of every webinar, which is, you know, to remember that you make a difference in the lives of young people. You're not just jumping through hoops here. The work that you do, the program that you design and then deliver, will make a difference in kids' lives. And to me, that makes every minute that you spend on this worth it. So very good. We look forward to receiving your final submissions, and I can't wait until next November when we get to watch you receive your Gold Star School Counseling Award at the ISCA conference. So thanks, everybody, and don't forget to call Debbie if you have questions. Thanks.